The day began, as many do, at the Midgar Academy cafeteria. A soul-wrenching cry echoed through the hall as Hyoro experienced the 5 stages of grief over a simple game of cards. He couldn't fathom how he'd lost so spectacularly to the likes of Cid, whose victory was so complete he now held all of their money. Cid, for his part, offered his services as a gentlemanly victor, thoroughly enjoying their despair. As the mastermind walked off to get lunch, his 2 broke friends could only curse his demonic luck. They wondered aloud how a supposed mob character like Cid could afford such luxurious Mitsugoshi brand playing cards, to which Cid casually explained they were a gift from an upperclassman named Nina, who had asked him to look after her lil bro. Cid vaguely recalled Nina as one of his older sister's friends. As if summoned by the mere mention of her name, a figure appeared, playfully asking if they'd already forgotten her. It was Nina herself, a ball of energy, who immediately zeroed in on Cid, demanding to know where he'd been during winter break. Hyoro and Jaga fawned over their senpai, complimenting her assets, while Nina playfully feigned ignorance about what could possibly be small and big. She then invited Cid to eat with her, a generous offer from a concerned upperclassman. When his 2 friends tried to tag along, Nina shot them down cold. They had, after all, just sexually harassed her, and she would be treating Cid on behalf of his missing sister, Claire. The trio was left to watch as Cid was whisked away for a fancy meal. Over an exquisite lunch, Nina observed that Cid seemed more energetic than she'd expected, which was a great relief. She confessed she had come to check on him, worried he'd be depressed over Claire's disappearance. Cid, ever the pragmatist, simply chalked up his sister's absence to another one of her dramatic, Chuni-Bu-fueled walkabouts. Nina laughed, agreeing that the talented Claire was probably in no real danger. She did, however, mention that things around the academy had been getting more dangerous lately. As an example, she brought up the huge surge of magic power detected behind the boys' dorm just last night. While Nina warned him to be careful, Cid internally concluded the massive disturbance was nothing more than a cat and dog fighting over a mackerel. Hyoro and Jaga reappeared, nursing glasses of water, and boldly claimed the recent dangers were because of desirable chads like themselves. Finding their delusion pitiful, Nina offered them some of her leftovers, an honor they tearfully accepted. Cid savored his 100,000 zeni noble course meal, particularly the exquisite carpaccio, marveling at his senpai's generosity. He then felt an intense glare and noticed a small cat-eared girl hiding under the table, staring daggers at him. The girl, Zeta, was clearly drooling over his fish, yet was attempting to deliver a coded report about a Carpaccio-sama and how Claire-sama was on the other side. Cid, a true connoisseur of misunderstanding, decided this Carpaccio cult business was just an elaborate role-play to ask for his fish. He found her commitment to the bit admirable. He passed the plate to Zeta, who accepted it with a simple acknowledgement. Playing along with what he perceived as her game, Cid mused about a certain guy who'd been poking around and magnanimously left the decision to interfere up to her. Zeta affirmed that she would indulge in the carpaccio before returning to the shadows, nomming on the fish as she spoke. As she departed, Cid asked about Delta's whereabouts, and Zeta cheerfully replied she'd left her by the sea. Elsewhere, in a desolate, empty world, Cid's sister Claire was desperately trying to contact someone named Aurora to find a way out. The voice of Aurora echoed back, calmly explaining that she was opening a rift, but it would take time. Claire complained, but Aurora noted that Claire's limited magic was the bottleneck. Claire surveyed the lonely, empty world, wondering what this place even was. Suddenly, she was no longer alone. A strange figure startled her. More ghostly apparitions lunged at her, sending her tumbling. Aurora's voice explained that these were the bound spirits of past heroes. She urged Claire to end their suffering, as their lack of magic cursed them to wander forever. Claire, however, was panicking, having been caught without her sword. She felt completely and utterly vulnerable. With no other option, she decided to just start punching. To everyone's surprise, her fist connected, and the ghost began to dissipate. Claire was shocked that physical attacks actually worked on ghosts, a feat Aurora chalked up to her being a musclehead. A new, more solid-looking enemy appeared. Aurora noted that the seal must be weakening and offered to lend Claire her power. The cloaked figure charged. Claire was struck by a physical blow. She reeled, realizing with a start that ghosts shouldn't have weight. This meant her opponent was alive, just like her. She challenged the newcomer, threatening to punch him just like the others. Aurora advised that fists alone would be tough and offered to lend her power. The cloaked figure dashed forward as Aurora told Claire to get ready. As power flowed into her, Claire's hand began to glow with a magic circle. She unleashed a powerful blast against her opponent. The attack landed, but the result was unexpected. A strange, blood-like tentacle erupted from the attack, shocking Claire. Aurora was equally surprised, remarking that she didn't know Claire possessed such a power. Claire, however, recognized her foe's face from the knight's trial. She identified him as Viscount Jean, a captain in the Knight's Order. The man smiled, revealing his fake name and his true identity as Dark Smile Jean, one of the cult's named children. Aurora and Claire both found his name incredibly lame, while Jean commented on Claire's interesting new power. He cryptically mentioned needing to confirm their suspicions. His goal, he declared with a smirk, was to capture her alive as a present for his masters. As John prepared his dark smile attack, Aurora warned Claire, who demanded more power. But the power she received began to wobble and fade. Aurora apologized, admitting she was out of magic. She then found it hilarious that Dark Smile was, in fact, smiling darkly, much to Claire's frustration. Claire yelled at both of them for laughing at a time like this. John's attack was about to land on the powerless Claire. Just in the nick of time, a new figure intervened, blocking the blow. It was the cat girl, Zeta. Her blade clashed with John's. John was shocked by her sudden appearance. Zeta effortlessly pushed him back. Claire, utterly confused, asked if this newcomer was on her side. Aurora warned Claire to get back, unable to sense the newcomer's magic level. The cat girl introduced herself as Zeta and grabbed Claire, stating she wouldn't let the cult take her. With a quick "see you," Zeta tossed Claire through a newly formed rift. Claire vanished, leaving Zeta to face John alone. Jean recognized Zeta as a member of Shadow Garden and cursed her interference. Zeta asked if he had noticed Claire's hidden power, the strange tentacle. Jean confirmed that he had. With a somber tone, Zeta offered her condolences. She declared that because he had seen it, she could not let him get away. Jean felt an immense, crushing pressure radiating from Zeta. His sword dropped from his hand as his body began to fail him. A black substance erupted from him as he was torn apart. Zeta watched calmly as her opponent was annihilated. She proudly dubbed her new skill Dark Matter, quite pleased with the results. Another figure, Victoria, appeared and praised Zeta's incredible power. Zeta confirmed to Victoria that Aurora was indeed inside Claire, and that the cult was likely unaware. Following her master's instructions to see to the future, Zeta ordered a change to Plan C. Victoria marveled at how Shadow-sama truly seemed to know everything. Back in the classroom, Cid was having an existential crisis over a pop quiz, knowing absolutely none of the answers. Failing would mean a weekend of review, which would make him stand out, an unacceptable outcome for a mob character. He had always managed to barely pass, but this time he was truly stumped. To make matters worse, his primary source for cheating, Isaac, was absent. His lanky friend Hyoro was cheating with an obvious body movement code. His other friend, Jaga, had cheat sheets practically falling out of his sleeves. In this dire situation, Cid knew there was only one person he could rely on. He set his sights on Christina-san, a top 5 honor student sitting diagonally in front of him. Unfortunately, his angle was terrible, and most of her answers were blocked. Simply erasing his presence to move closer was too risky in a crowded room. Moving faster than sight would create a disruptive wind pressure. He pondered a new technique, moving at high speed while simultaneously slowing down to negate the air pressure. It would require advanced magic, and he wasn't sure he could pull it off. As he began to concentrate his magic, the proctor suddenly shouted, making Cid flinch, thinking he'd been caught. But the proctor was yelling at Hyoro, dragging the lanky boy out for double the review homework. Hyoro was hauled away, screaming about not wanting extra review. The proctor's gaze then fell upon his next victim. Jaga was busted for his dangling cheat sheets and sentenced to triple the review. Cid sweated, realizing this proctor was far stricter than he'd anticipated. He noticed Christina looking at the two cheaters as if they were trash. Jaga, however, seemed to be enjoying the attention. With the proctor on high alert, Cid knew he couldn't give up. He had to believe in himself, for the impossible could become possible. If he failed now, his very existence as a mob character would end. He gripped his pen, resolving to cheat on this quiz until his last breath. It was time to unleash the ultimate mob fu phantom skill. A crack suddenly appeared in the ceiling. A figure began to fall through, right above Cid's desk. Cid looked up, utterly bewildered. The proctor and the remaining students were equally stunned. His sister, Claire, landed beside him, grabbing him and demanding to know what he meant by "take me away." She frantically asked him to answer her about the hidden power he'd mentioned. The proctor, recognizing the intruder, pointed out that this wasn't her class. Claire, finally realizing her location, looked around in embarrassed confusion. She gave a sheepish tee-hee. Then she bolted, with the proctor giving chase, yelling that she was headed for the student guidance room. Cid was left completely taken aback. His sister had fallen from the sky, held a one-sided conversation about a hidden power, and then fled. It was the complete package. He concluded her mental illness was far more severe than he'd thought. But on the bright side, the chaos had provided the perfect cover for him to cheat. In the hallway outside, Claire was having her own crisis. Her dignity as an older sister was in tatters after landing in, of all places, her little brother's classroom. She furiously blamed the Witch of Disaster, Aurora, for her predicament. A voice behind her repeated the word disaster, asking where she'd heard it. It was Aurora, reminding Claire that she looks into things herself. Before Claire could respond, another student, Alexia, interrupted her intriguing monologue. Alexia wrapped an arm around Claire, expressing a keen interest in hearing all about the Witch of Disaster, Aurora.